Hello everyone and welcome to another random bits and pieces segment from my brain, and today, sit a while for we are playing some more Franchise Hockey Manager 6 as part of the Ottawa Senators. Alright, so the nearly perfect Ottawa Senators are sitting atop of the Eastern Conference, and yet they are only 2 points ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So that is pretty crazy that we are 21-1 to start the season and we are only 2 points ahead of Pittsburgh. So they must be having one heck of a season as well. And we're about to face them too, although we beat them twice to start the season. So, yeah, maybe they're going to beat us this time. I don't know. So, Joe Thornton is still hurt day to day. Nothing to worry about. I looked, as usual, prior to every single video, I look at the trading blocks, see if there's anything of interest there. There is absolutely not. Mostly older guys that I wouldn't really be able to fit on the team. And I don't feel like I have an urgent need anywhere. Probably a byproduct of being 21-1, really. But I don't really feel like I have a weakness anywhere that I need to address. Like last season, my D wasn't really producing a lot of offense and everything, so I tried to address that. And ironically, I went with my heart and got a player that I really, really, really liked in real life, and he's not been very good for us so far this season. So yeah, it is what it is. So I think I'm just gonna stay put and let it play out and address as I go. If I get too many injuries or something, I'll try to address them, but I don't see a need to make anything drastic right now. So we are going to be starting the month of December at home with a three game homestand, and the first team we're going to be facing is the Atlanta Thrashers, but that's not for a couple more days still, so let's see what is going on in the NHL until then. Rick Nash is back from suspension in Columbus. Good job, back in the lineup. Eugene Melnick is very happy with my work as we went 11-0 last month. Alright, and Joe Thornton is very close to be back. Alright, and Joe Thornton is now officially back, so no more injuries for him. Alright, so Atlanta is in town. We have not played them so far this season. They are 11-8-5, which is good for 6th in the East, so not too bad. Not that great, but not too bad. Let's take a look at their lineup. So in net, it's Peter Budaj and Kari Lehtonen. Toby Enstrom. Is it I think it's Brandon Mizzy. Branislav, oh boy, I got that wrong. Dennis Seidenberg, Dan Boyle, Zach Bogosian, Braden Coburn on D. Yeah, that D is pretty decent. Kovalchuk, Sterling, Marcus Naslund, DJ King, Sami Kapanen, Stuart Armstrong a little more, Arnason, Rasmussen, Kostopoulos, Chris Clark, Jari Lehtonen, and Hentunen. So there's a few O's on forward. There's quite a few half-star players. Of course, there's Ilya Kovalchuk as well. Marcus Naslund is slowing down, but he's still capable. So kind of an interesting mix here, but definitely a few O's. So goaltending is pretty good, the D's pretty good, forwards is a little shaky, not too terrible, but a little shaky for sure. Alright, let's see if we can beat the Thrashers. So Kari Lehtonen is going to be in net for Atlanta. We are going with Brian Elliott. and we won 7-2. We outshot the Thrashers 63-18. Joe Thornton is the first star of the game. He had 3 assists. Marianosa was the second star with 2 assists, and Jason Spezza was the third star with a goal and an assist. We had 16,286 people in attendance for this game. So early in the game there was a fight between Sheldon Surrey and DJ King, but no scoring. Then we opened up the machine in the second period. We scored 5 unanswered goals. Patrick Eves scored from Joe Thornton. Then Jason Spezza scored his 15th from Marianosa. Then Brooks Like from Mark Streit and Joe Thornton. Scott Niedermeyer scored on the power play from Joe Thornton and Chris Kelly. And then Mike Fisher from Sheldon Surrey and Ryan Callahan. 5-0 after 2. Then some more goal scoring in the third period. Atlanta actually scored, so it made it 5-1. But then we scored 2 more goals. Matt Stajan from Mark Streit and Marianosa, and then Pavel Datsyuk from Sheldon Surrey and Jason Spezza. It was 7-1, and then Kovalchuk scored his 20th on the power play to make it 7-2, but it was way too late, and we ended up with the win. And there was another fight in the third period between DJ King again, and this time against Zdeno Chara. So DJ King was frustrated in that game or something. 2 fights. Ooh, Olaf Kolzig has been put on waivers by Washington. That's interesting to me. Paul Carey has reached 500 goals in his career with a goal against Chicago. 34 years old, Paul Carey, 2-star player. So he's been slowing down a little bit. Great night for Chris Kunitz in that same game. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals. Turmoil in Dallas. New rumor says Stars dressing room trouble could cause ouster of Murray. Alright, so Terry Murray might lose his job as the coach for Dallas. Dallas is 10-13-2, so they are struggling. Strong night for Jaromir Jagr, who had a hat-trick against the Rangers. Now, Pittsburgh is not struggling at all. Sidney Crosby extends his point streak to 13 games with 2 assists in that same game against the Rangers. Alright, and speaking of Pittsburgh, they're going to be in town here. Wow, they lost only 3 games, so 2 against us and 1 other game. Sidney Crosby extends his point streak to 14 games with an assist against Carolina. And that was 8 straight with an assist for him. And Chris Draper played in 1,250 games so far in his career. That happened against Toronto, still in Phoenix. 37 years old Chris Draper, 2.5-star talent. I think we saw that in the past video because he reached a milestone. Although I do not remember exactly which one. Excellent passing leads to productive night for Patrick Eliash, former Ottawa Senator Patrick Eliash, now with the Wild. Oh, he's with Yashin then. God, all of our former players end up there, I guess. Wait, is Yashin in Nashville or Minnesota? Oh no, he's in Minnesota. There you go, he scored. Alright, so Patrick Eliash with a goal and 5 assists against Vancouver. Wow, pretty good game. Is he doing good? Yeah, 20 points in 25 games. Definitely not too bad. He was just slowing down for us, so I decided to not extend him and get a little bit of cap relief. Those are the type of decisions that you have to make sometimes with the salary cap. Alright, so Pittsburgh is in town. They are 22-3. They have the exact same amount of points as us, but they did play 2 more games than us. We are 2-0 against Pittsburgh with 2 4-2 victories against them. So Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be in net for Pittsburgh. We're going to Brian Elliott. I mean, I prefer Ryan Miller, but Elliott's been winning, so it's hard to argue with that. And we won 4-0. Another shutout for Brian Elliott, who was able to stop Sidney Crosby. So some of those news up there are going to be for him not getting a point. So we did outshoot Pittsburgh 43-20. Joe Thornton was the first star. He had a goal and an assist. Anton Volchenkov was the second star with a goal. And Scott Niedermayer was the third star with an assist. 16,677 people were in attendance to see the game between the two best teams in the East. So Joe Thornton opened up the scoring in the first, assisted by Patrick Eves, and it was 1-0 after one. And then nobody scored until the third period, where Marianosa scored on the power play from Chris Kelly and Joe Thornton, and Alexander Radulov scored on the power play as well from Jason Spezza, and Anton Volchenkov from Scott Niedermayer and Ryan Callahan. 4-0 was the final score. Sidney Crosby's point streak ended at 14 games. No points against us, and no assist, of course. Alright, so next game is in a couple days at home again, against the only team that's beat us this season. Oh, they're doing better now. When they beat us, they were dead last in the East, but they're 8 as right now. Ooh, they've been winning. We have to watch it. They're on a roll. Alright, so Dmitry Bykov, Jason Bakashua, and Leslie Pierietta are all on waivers. Alright, Florida's in town. Florida Panthers are 10-13-3. Alright, since I looked at their spot in the standings, they dropped. They are now 10th in the East, but still, they are not dead last anymore. We are 1-1 against Florida. As I mentioned, it's the only team that has beat us so far this season. It was a 3-2 loss at that point. So Florida in town with Jacob Markstrom in net, and we're going to Brian Elliott. And we won 4-3, so not necessarily an easy win. So they are playing us pretty good, I would say. We outshot Florida 38-25. Brooks Lake was the first star of that game. He had 2 assists. Matt Moulson was the second star with 2 goals, and Mark Streit was the third star with a goal and an assist. 16,731 people in attendance for that one. Florida scored first in the first period, and they were actually up 1-0 after one. Then a bunch of goals in the second period. Mark Streit tied the game up from Scott Niedermayer and Brooks Lake. Then Florida took the lead again, but Sheldon Story scored from Marianos, and Jason Spezza tied the game at 2. Then Sam Gagné scored his first from Martin Havlat, made it 3-2, and then Patrick Eves scored his 5th from Brooks Lake and Mark Streit, 4-2 after 2. And then in the third period, Florida scored, made it 4-3 with 13 left to go in the period, but they could never tie the game up, so we actually won the game. Oh, Patrick Eves is suspended for 7 games. I saw that in the third period he got an illegal check to the head penalty. And now he's suspended for 7 games. Alright, so I guess either Nick Foligno or Radulov will draw in for those 7 games, which is not a bad thing. Alright, next game is in 2 days. We are going to be facing the surging Chicago Blackhawks. They have a pretty good record. Andy Delmore is available on waivers. I'm not going to pick him up. A strong night for Jaromir Jagr, who had a hat-trick against Buffalo. Dustin Brown is suspended in in LA, sorry. He's going to be suspended for 7 games, just like Patrick Eves. Alright, so playing against Chicago, they are 16-8-1, so that's pretty good. Let's take a look at their lineup. We have not played them so far this year. Tuomo Ruutu is not going to play this game. He is hurt. And then we have Corey Crawford and Scott Clemenson in net, so that's decent. Then on D, we have Duncan Keith, Nicholas Jean-Marson, Ed Jovanovski, James Wisniewski, Darren Quint, Brent Seabrook, Numelin, Avlid, and Johansson. That's a lot of D on the lineup. That's also a pretty decent D. Not a lot of weaknesses on that D, actually. So the goaltending's good, the D's pretty good. Up front, it's Daniel Corso, Martin Gélina, Ethan Morrow, Taylor Pyatt, David Bolin, Jim Slater, Jonathan Taves, Troy Brower, Quinton Lang, Patrick Kane, Dan Clary, and Mikko Koivu. Yeah, it's a pretty decent team. I can see why they have the record they have. Are they going to beat us? They have a pretty well-rounded team. So Brian Elliott in net for us, Corey Crawford in net for Chicago, and we won 3-0. We outshot Chicago 45-13. Matt Stajan was the first star, he had an assist. Scott Niedermayer was the second star with a goal, and Martin Avlat was the third star with a goal as well. Jason Spitz opened up the scoring in the first on the power play from Pavel Datsyuk and Alexander Radulov. Then Scott Niedermayer scored from Ryan Callahan and Matt Stajan. So it was 2-0 Sens after 1. Uh-oh. Alexander Radulov got a penalty for illegal check to the head as well. He's probably going to get suspended as well. Wow. We don't usually get many suspensions. I guess I am now. And then in the third period, Martin Avlat scored from Chris Kelly and Sheldon Surrey. Then there was a fight in the third as well between Troy Brower and Sheldon Surrey. And 3-0 was the end of this game. Yeah, he is suspended for 6 games. Yikes. And in that game, Pavel Datsyuk reached 600 points in the NHL against Chicago with an assist. 30 years old, Pavel Datsyuk, still a 5-star player. Alright, well, I guess... yeah, I guess we're out of spares up front with those suspensions. Alright, memorable night for Sidney Crosby, who had a hat-trick against New Jersey. And next game is in Washington tomorrow against the Caps. Laviolette could be on last chance as Hurricanes coach, so Peter Laviolette might lose his coaching gig in Carolina. Ooh, Carolina's struggling. They are 10-18-1. So they are looking at maybe making a change over there. Alright, so in Washington tonight, Washington is 15-10-4. That's good for third in the East because they're atop their division. We are 1-0 against the Caps this season. We won 5-0 against them earlier. Brian Elliott in net for us. Tuukka Rask in net for the Caps. And we lost 3-1. Second loss of the season against Washington. We did outshoot Washington 48-15. Mike Green was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Chris Kelly was the second star with a goal. And Tuukka Rask was the third star with 47 saves in the win. There was a fight between Sean Hill and Zdeno Chara. Maybe a little bit uneven. Washington opened up the scoring in the second period. Took a 1-0 lead. And then took a 2-0 lead at the start of the third period. Then we had Chris Kelly score on the power play from Mark Streit and Jason Spezza. Cut the lead in half, but near the end of the game, Washington scored again, and they actually won 3-1. Marcus Naslund has played in 1,000 games in his career, and he had a goal and an assist against the Boston Bruins to celebrate that. 35 years old Marcus Naslund, 2.5-star player. Jerome McGinley extends his goal streak to 5 games with 2 goals against the Wings. And Curtis Foster in New Jersey is suspended. He's going to miss 9 games. That's a lot. Oh, and Andre Meszaros is hurt apparently. He's day-to-day. I'm just going to keep him there. Alright, so we are about to play the Tampa Bay Lightning, who is the worst team in the East right now with a 8-19-2 record. We are 1-0 against them this season. We beat them 4-1 in Tampa Bay earlier in the season. Yeah, they've been really bad lately. Alright, so let's see if we can beat them again. I was looking at the end of the month there, and there's a very long road trip, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that it's because in real life the World Juniors were in Ottawa that year. I believe that sounds about right with what I remember now. That was 12 years ago, so I could be wrong, but I think that explains why Ottawa was on the road for an extended period of time, because that is the time frame when the World Juniors happen. It's during the holidays. Alright, Tampa Bay's in town. Our ghost rivals, with Alex Old in net for them, and we are going to Ryan Metter. Oh boy. And we won 10-2. That's going to be a lot of talking. So we outshot Tampa Bay 41-18 in that game. Jason Spezza was the first star. He had 2 goals and 4 assists. Marian Osa was the second star with a goal and 3 assists. And Sheldon Surrey was the third star with a goal and an assist. 18,034 people in attendance were probably pretty pleased to be there for that game, because whenever the home team scores 10, that ought to be pretty fun. I've never been at a game where the Sens scored 10 goals. Well, actually, I've lived in the States for so long now. I've only been to 2 Sens games in Ottawa, and I'm 1-1 for those. We beat Buffalo but lost against Detroit. Alright, so let's get going with the talking here. So Matt Stajan scored first in the first period. It was his 5th of the season from Sam Gagner. And then Tampa Bay tied the game, so it was actually tied at 1 after 1. Then, yeah, we opened up the scoring in the second period. We scored 6 straight goals. Matt Onwick from Jason Spezza and Marian Osa. Then Martin Havlat from Chris Kelly and Anton Volchenkov. And then Jason Spezza scored on the power play. That one was unassisted. Then Matt Stajan scored on the power play as well from Nick Foligno. Ryan Callahan scored from Brooks Laich and Zdeno Chara. Marian Osa from Mark Streit and Jason Spezza. It was 7-1. And then Tampa Bay scored, and it was 7-2 going into the third period. But we didn't stop there. We scored 3 more goals. Jason Spezza from Sheldon Surrey and Marian Osa. Then Chris Kelly from Mike Fisher and Jason Spezza. And finally, Sheldon Surrey scored his 5th from Jason Spezza and Marian Osa. And 10-2 was the final score. And yes, Jason Spezza had a memorable game. With 6 points, as we saw. Alright, and Atlanta's going to be in town again. So they're visiting again. They were there at the start of the month, and then a couple weeks later, they're coming back. Zygmunt Palffy has tallied 1,250 games in his career, and he celebrated with a goal and 2 assists against Columbus. So 36 years old, Zygmunt Palffy, still a 2-star talent. Memorable night for Blake Como in that same game. He had a hat-trick. Strong game for Paul Stastny in that same game, except for Columbus, he had a hat-trick as well. Teppo Numminen has played in 1,500 games in his career. Didn't get a point. That happened against Detroit. And he is 40 years old and still a 2-star talent. Alright, so Atlanta's going to be there in 2 days. Oh, the league decided to not put their pants on. They didn't suspend Joe Sakic. Apparently he did something. Strong night for Henrik Zetterberg, who had a goal and 4 assists in that same game against Colorado. Maybe that's why Sakic was frustrated. Because Zetterberg was having a better game than he was. Alright, Atlanta's in town. They are now 13-11-5, which is good for 6th in the East. We are 1-0 obviously against them. We beat them a couple weeks back, 7-2. It was at home as well. Kari Lettonen's going to be in net for that one. We're going back to Brian Elliott. And we won 3-2. Tight game. We outshot Atlanta 37-26. Marian Hossa was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Ilya Kovalchuk was the second star with a goal. And Martin Havlat was the third star with a goal as well. 17,667 people in attendance for that game. Jason Spitz opened up the scoring in the first from Mark Streit and Marian Hossa. It was 1-0 Sens after 1. Then in the second period, Kovalchuk scored, tied the game at 1. It was how it was as we headed up in the third period. Brooks Light gave us the lead from Pavel Datsyuk and Marian Hossa. Then DJ King tied the game. And then Martin Havlat scored the game winner with 1 and 23 seconds left to go in the game from Chris Kelly and Mike Fisher. Atlanta would not tie the game, so 3-2 is the final score today. A night to remember for Matt Niskanen in Dallas. He had a 3 goals and 1 assist performance against Phoenix. Pretty good. Alright, and we are going to be in New Jersey here in a couple days. Eric Weinrich has played in 1,250 games in his career. Didn't get a point. That happened against New Jersey. And he is 41 years old, playing for Buffalo now. And he is a star and a half talent still. So still able to play in the league. Probably just not all that dominant or anything anymore. Let's see. Yeah, 4 points in 20 games. I think he's slowing down. Alright, Nick Tarnowski is not suspended in Tampa Bay. And we are about to play the Devils for the first time of the season. So the Devils are 14-14-1, playing for 500. They are 8th in the East, so they're holding on to the last playoff spot. Let's take a look at their lineup here. Yeah, they have a couple injuries. Scott Gomez is hurt. Not going to play that game. Oh, and former Ottawa Senator Brian Berard is hurt as well. Not going to play. Oof. Yeah, he is an alpha star with 9 offense and 9 defense, but his stats are not too terrible at all. Like, so far this season, he had 8 points in 16 games. That's pretty decent. Alright, so on the actual lineup, Martin Brodeur and Vesa Toskala are in net. Curtis Foster is suspended, so he's not going to play. So on D, it's going to be Salmela, Freddie Meyer, Young, Corrente, Eric Brewer, and Brian Rafalski. Oh boy. That D is struggling. Gianta Di Salvatore, Vermette, Spilo, Cormier, Kolnick, Madden, Kalinski, Nolan, Ellischuk, Parisi, Palmieri, Rolston, and Bergfors on up front. So it's a little bit better up front, but even then, it's like there's a few decent players up front and then a bunch of not so talented players. So yeah, it's not a very good team. I have a feeling that they owe a few of their 14 wins to Brother in net. Alright, so Brian Elliott is going to be in net for us. He's going to face Martin Brodeur. And we won 6-2. So we outshot New Jersey 38-14. Jason Spezza was the first star of the game. He had a hat-trick. Marianosa was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Mike Fisher was the third star with a goal and an assist as well. Alright, so New Jersey scored first, then Jason Spezza scored the first of his goals. It was his 20th of the season from Marianosa and Scott Niedermayer. Then Jason Spezza scored again, unassisted on the power play. Then New Jersey scored to tie the game at 2, but we would score 2 more goals within 50 seconds of each other by the end of the period. Jason Spezza completed his hat-trick from Matt Unwick and Sheldon Surrey, and then Mike Fisher from Chris Kelly. It was 42 Sens after 1. There was a fight between Harry Young and Zdeno Chara. In the second period, Marianosa scored from Anton Volchenkov, made it 5-2. Then there was another fight between Matt Corrente and Ryan Callahan. And then in the third period, Chris Kelly scored his 5th from Martin Avlat and Mike Fisher. 6-2 was the final score in that game. And yes, Jason Spezza had a hat-trick. We all witnessed it. Right, so there's 5 games left in December. So we have one more game at home, which is tomorrow against Dallas before we hit the road for a very long time. It's going to be 8 straight away games. Javier Mazzaros is starting to feel better. Good. Alright, so about to play Dallas at home. So as we saw earlier this month, they are struggling, although they have turned things around a little bit. Their record is not as bad as it was when that news came in. Right now they are 14, 15, and 2. We have not played them, so as you know the drill, we're going to look at their lineup. Alright, so they do have an injury. UC Jokinen is not going to play that game, he's hurt. So in net, it's Jonas Eller and Mike Smith, so that's decent. On D, they have Kalinin, Eward, Allen, Alberts, Daly, Niskanen, and Saleh. So it's better than it's been. I remember Dallas a few seasons back. For a few seasons in a row, they had problems with their D. That's definitely a better D. It's not stellar, but it's better. Then up front, it's Ben, Jokinen, Eatley, Neal, Lundqvist, Johnson, Kapanen, Morrow, Iginla, Emsky, Axelson, Thorburn, and Westwall. So the forwards are pretty decent. So it's probably their D that's hurting them. Maybe the coaching. I don't know. Jonas Eller is going to be in net for them. We are going to Ryan Miller. And we won 5-1. Joe Thornton is the first star of that game with 3 assists. Ryan Callahan is the second star with a goal and an assist, and Chris Kelly is the third star with a goal. We did outshoot Dallas 45-24 in that one. We had 17,244 people in attendance for that game. Matt Unwick scored first in the first period from Joe Thornton. Then Ryan Callahan scored his 5th from Matt Unwick and Joe Thornton. It was 2-0 Sens after 1. There was a fight. Oh. Wow. There was a fight in the first period. Pavel Datsuk fought Wes Walls. Pretty interesting fight there. And in the second period, Scott Niedermayer scored his 5th from Mark Streit and Pavel Datsyuk, and then Chris Kelly scored on the power play from Joe Thornton and Zdeno Chara. It was 4-0 after 2. And then in the third period, Sheldon Souris scored from Ryan Callahan and Zdeno Chara, made it 5-0, and Danny Eatley scored and made sure that Ryan Miller was not going to get a shutout in that game. And 5-1's the final score. Mike Comrie is available. I'm not going to pick him up, although the Sens in real life picked him up a few times, actually. Suspension for Pavel Kubina in Tampa Bay. He is going to be out for 6 games. Yaroslav Modry has accomplished 600 points in his career with an assist against Washington. 37 years old, Yaroslav Modry, still in Philly. 2 stars. Sidney Crosby extends his goal streak to 5 games with a goal and an assist against the Leafs. A night to remember for Alexei Yashin. Oh, he's slowed down. Even then, he got a hat trick against St. Louis. Yeah, he's only a 1-star talent now. Looks like I moved on from Yashin at the right time. Oh, he has 23 points in 32 games. It's pretty good, even if the raw talent shown is not that great anymore. Alright, and Meszaros is feeling better and better. Alright, next game is in 2 days. It's going to be in Philly, so we're going to start that super long road trip. We're starting in Philadelphia, then we're going to Western Canada. I am ready to play, says Meszaros. Well, that's good. Sidney Crosby extends his goal streak to 6 games with 2 goals against Buffalo. And in that same game, Patrick Sharp extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal and an assist. Alright, now we are in Philadelphia. The Flyers are 16, 15, and 2. That's good for 6th in the East. We are 1-0 against them. We did win 3-0 against them earlier this season. Alright, so Brian Elliott is going to be in net for us. Jeremy Duchesne is going to be in net for the Flyers. And we won 3-1. We did outshoot the Flyers 45-21. Mark Streit was the first star of that game. He had 2 goals. Jeffrey Witka was the second star with an assist, and Zdeno Chara was the 3rd star with 2 assists. So there was no scoring in the first. Then in the second period, Anton Volchenkov scored short-handed from Zdeno Chara and Pavel Datsyuk. Then Mike Richards tied the game at 1 before seeing Mark Streit score a minute and 5 seconds later, assisted by Mike Fisher. It was 2-1 Sens after 2. And then in the third period, Mark Streit scored from Martin Havlat and Zdeno Chara, and 3-1 was the final score today. Oh, Andre Meszaros came back and got hurt. He has an ankle laceration. They don't say for how long, so nothing there. Alright, I'm gonna need to figure this out. Patrick Eves is back from suspension, as is Alexander Radulov. Yay! We survived. How long are you hurt for? 1 to 2 weeks. Okay. So we're gonna put you on injured reserve. And then we're gonna look at who's doing good in the minors, and we're gonna reward them. Mark Fistrick, 10 points in 28 games. Lucas Biza, 5 points. 6. Well, if I go just by points, it's gonna be Eric Greiba. But he's only an alpha star. Whoever I'm calling back up probably is not going to play all that much. Ooh, Jordan Leopold is struggling. Yeah, I think I'm gonna... I know Pietrangelo's a lot better than, you know, any of the other ones and everything, but I actually want to kind of play by merit a little bit. If it was a 4-month injury, probably not, but just for a 1 to 2 week stint, I'm going to give it to Greiba. Even if he's an alpha star player, I'm gonna reward him for having a good season in the minors. I mean, it's not like we're in danger of missing the playoffs or anything, so... Alright, and like I said, he's probably not even going to play all that much. So we are heading west in Western Canada, and in 4 days after Christmas, we are going to be playing against the Flames in Calgary. Dawson Brown back from suspension in LA. Sidney Crosby extends his goal streak to 7 games with a goal against the Lightning. Alright, so Harry Young is not suspended in New Jersey. And Sidney Crosby extends his goal streak to 8 games with a goal and 2 assists in that game against the Devils. Wow, he is on a tear. Alright, so we are playing in Calgary tonight. We have not played the Flames so far. They do have a winning record. They are 16, 14, and 4, which is a little bit better than what we've seen in the past. I wonder if they still have Levante what was his last name? No, he's not there anymore. Super. Andy is still there, Craig Anderson, but Levante Super is not there anymore. They have a lot of goaltenders signed. Oof, at least compared to me, they do. I think I have 4 total. You just don't... If the game had actual... When you play historical, if it had actually the structure of the leagues and everything from back then, I would have more goaltenders because I would have goaltenders for my ECHL team and whatnot. But since there's not even actual real games played in the AHL, my players don't get hurt or anything, so it's pointless for me to have too many goaltenders. But anyway. Alright, so it is Andy, Craig Anderson in net with UC Markkanen. They have a pretty good D in Calgary. Mark Giordano, Dion Phaneuf, Ryan Wilson, Tony Ludman, Nicholas Cronwall, and Mike Van Ryn. So 2 pretty solid first pairs, and then the third pairs maybe a little not that great, but so up front it's a little bit more difficult for them too. So Sergei Brin, Jeff Cowan, Eric Nystrom, Jorgen Janssen, Brett Sutter, Daniel Kachuk, Steve Bégin, Yuri Novotny, Blair Betts, Tommy Mackey, Randy Robitaille, Andrew Cracknell, Chuck Kabasu, Sean Thornton, and Josef Vazicek. So, yeah, when you're in terms of raw talent, when your best forward in terms of raw talent is Chuck Kabasu, it's a little tough, I would think. But they have a winning record. Probably their D and Andy that's keeping them in games. So Brian Elliott is going to be in net for us. He's going to face Craig Anderson. And we won 4-1. We outshot the Flames 45-9. Zdeno Chara was the first star of the game. He had an assist. Pavel Datsyuk was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Jason Spezza was the third star with a goal. Pavel Datsyuk opened up the scoring in the first. It was his 10th of the season, assisted by Marian Hossa. And then the Flames tied the game. It was tied at 1 after 1. Then in the second period, Jason Spezza scored from Pavel Datsyuk, then Mike Fisher from Zdeno Chara and Chris Kelly, and Patrick Eaves from Joe Thornton. 4-1 after 2. There was a fight. So Eric Gryba did play this game, and he actually fought Sean Thornton in his first NHL game, trying to leave a little mark so that we will remember him when it's time to recall a player again. And after that game, the Flames have put Daniel Tkachuk on waivers. Big game for Brad Richards, who had a hat-trick against the Panthers. And we are now in Vancouver to play against the Canucks. So while the Flames are doing alright, the Canucks are struggling. They are 12, 18, and 6. We're going to look at their lineup. No injuries in Vancouver, so what we see here is the best lineup they have. So Corey Schneider and Marty Turco in net. Joe Corvo, Brent Sopel, Matthias Olun, Anders Eriksson, Alexander Edler, Yaroslav Spacek, and David Petrasek on D. So it's average. Bates Battaglia, Justin Jeffrey, we played them in preseason, I remember now. McLaren, Sedin, Holmstrom, Kotalik, Olden, Nordquist, Newt, Burish, Sedin, Ivanen, Umberger, and Art Mayer. So yeah, we played them in preseason. Ryan Metter is going to be in net for us. Corey Schneider in net for Vancouver. And we won 3-1. 54-19, the shots in our favor in that one. Patrick Eaves was the first star. He had a goal and 2 assists. Fraser McLaren was the second star with a goal. And Sheldon Surrey was the third star with an assist. There was a fight in the first period. Josh Olden and Jason Spezza fought. Spezza actually fought a couple times in his career that I remember. There's one time he fought because he got speared and he got pretty upset. Patrick Eaves opened up the scoring in the second period from Scott Niedermayer and Joe Thornton, and then Brooks Laich scored from Zdeno Chara and Patrick Eaves, and finally Pavel Datsyuk from Sheldon Surrey and Patrick Eaves. It was 3-0 Sens after 2. And then in the third period, Vancouver scored, but they could never tie the game, and we won 3-1 in this Canadian affair. Martin Prusek is available on waivers. Red light stays on for Patrick Hornquist, who had a hat-trick against the Oilers. A night to remember for Stéphane Veilleux in Minnesota. He had a hat-trick against the Blackhawks. Paul Carrier lights the lamp. He had a hat-trick against the Blues. Wow, lots of hat-tricks tonight. Or last night, rather. Alright, and we are about to play the last game for this video. Last game of December 2008 is going to be against the Edmonton Oilers in Edmonton. Passes on point for Anze Kopitar, who had 5 assists against Columbus. Wow. Alrighty, so the Oilers were pretty good for a pretty long time, actually. They were in the playoffs a lot, but they're struggling a little bit this season. They are 15, 16, and 3. František Kaberle is hurt, so he's not going to be playing this game. And then in net, it's Jeff Delorier and Devan Dubnyk. Sean O'Donnell, Daniel Markov, Grubeshkov, Matt Green, Jeff Petrie, Jonathan Girard on D. It's okay, I guess. Of course, Girard and P3 are... Well, Girard is slowing down. P3 has not reached potential yet. Antti Laaksonen, Scott Walker, Ryan Smith, Sean Orkoff, Kyle Brodziak, Boyd Devereaux, Jarrett Stoll, Rob Schremp, Andrew Cogliano, Brandon Bochenski, Jason Chimera, Kirk Maltby, Peter Pruka, and Miroslav Shatan. So it's not that bad of a team. I mean, it's not a powerhouse, but it's a pretty well-rounded team. I wouldn't be surprised if they turn it around and actually make the playoffs. Just not against us, I hope. So Brian Elliott is going to be in net for us. He's going to face Devan Dubnyk. And we lost in overtime, 3-2. And we outshot Edmonton 45-24. Ryan Smith was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals. Marian Hossa was the second star with an assist. And Devan Dubnyk was the third star with a 43 save performance. Ryan Smith opened up the scoring in the first period. And then Matt Stajan tied the game from Alexander Radulov. It was tied at 1 after 1. Kyle Brodziak and Mike Fisher fought in the first period. Then in the second period, Edmonton scored again, and then Pavel Datsyuk tied the game for us yet again, assisted by Marian Hossa. And then that went all the way to the shootout, where the only person to score was Sean Orkoff. So Jason Spezza, Pavel Datsyuk, and Joe Thornton could not score against Devan Dubnyk, and we lost this game in the shootout, 3-2. Red light stays on for Brian Campbell, who had a hat-trick against the Capitals. Curtis Foster is back from suspension in New Jersey. Alright, and the player poll results. So the best skater is Celia Romero-Jagr, the hardest shot is Brent Burns, the smartest player is Marian Hossa. The toughest is Fraser McLaren. Fastest is Phil Kessel. Best role model is Joe Sakic. Cleanest is Cal O'Reilly. Toughest goalie to beat is actually Brian Elliott. And the coach you'd most like to play for is Joel Quenneville in Minnesota. Alright, so we have one more click here to bring us to January 1st, 2009. Great night for Denis Briere, who had 4 assists against the Avalanche. Alright, and the players of the month this month were Sidney Crosby and Craig Anderson. Oh, Andy had a pretty good month in Calgary, huh? And Crosby is on a tear. He's a 2-point per game player, literally 75 points in 37 games. Alright, so let's take a look at the standings here. So we are still first in the East, with Pittsburgh only 2 points behind us yet again. So we cannot distance them. We might not finish first in the East, and we lost 3 games in 3 months. That's pretty crazy. Oh, Tampa Bay is not dead last in the East. It's the Islanders now that are dead last. So it's pretty tough in Uniondale. Now in the West, we have Nashville, Anaheim, Minnesota, Detroit, San Jose, Chicago, Phoenix, and LA. Wow. Ooh, the Avalanche is dead last. Actually, the Avalanche is the worst team in the league. I was not expecting to see that. Now, I understand, you know, they didn't get Patrick Roy like they did in real life and everything, but I mean, the forwards are not that bad. But they don't have the goaltending. And the D's kind of shaky as well. Wow. So Colorado is really struggling. That's interesting to me, at least. Alright, so for our stats, let's see if Spezza is going to catch up with Crosby. Yeah, probably not. He has 48 points in 34 games. That's still really good. 37 in 35 for Mark Streit, 35 in 35 for Osa, 34 in 35 for Thornton, 32 in 35 for Datsuk, and then it starts dwindling down after that. So Scott Niedermayer is still kind of struggling with points. He only has 11. Martin Havlat is really struggling. Of course, he's playing, I believe, on the 4th line, but still. Alright, and then in the entire league, we have Mike Camilleri and Sidney Crosby as the best goal scorers with 28 goals each. Spezza is 6th with 23. Crosby is also the best passer with 47 assists. Our best one is Marian Osa with 27. He's 8th in that regard. And then Sidney Crosby is all alone at the top of the best scoring race with 75 points. The closest one is his teammate Jaromir Jagr with 59. Our best player is Spezza with 48. He is 4th, tied with Pavelski and Zetterberg. Well, that's pretty much where we're at here. So we're still doing pretty good, but so are the Pittsburgh Penguins. So we cannot rest too much because Pittsburgh is just going to pass us at that point. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and save the game. And I am going to thank you for tuning in as usual. And if you've liked the video, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment, all of that good stuff. And until I roll this game again, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.